So who's winning the ACC? I think when you look at the overall landscape of this conference, there is 3 big dogs from a roster talent level, from Florida State to Clemson to Miami. And then you also have a bunch of sneaky teams that could totally just killer whale style breach and find a way to end up winning this conference. College football sickos, if you are a fan of the ACC or just a fan of college football, period, whether you're a Florida State fan, Miami fan, Virginia Tech fan, Clemson fan, whatever team you support, this is the place for you. Why? Because we are college football sickos. We live and die with fall Saturdays the same way as you, so make sure you're locked in right here. Make sure you are subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel. We are here now. It's college football season. Don't want y'all to miss a minute of what we have going on right here on this show, The Hard Count. Make sure you're dialed in, make sure you're subscribed, and we appreciate you so much in advance for that. We'll get back to those big dogs in a second, but who would be those killer whales? I think NC State, as long as Dave Doeren is running that operation out there, they're going to be a tough out. Just period, point blank. Grayson McCall, they got him from Coastal Carolina, the transfer portal quarterback. He could make all the difference with Robert Anae if he is more similar to what they wanted Brennan Armstrong to be. Kind of sounds harsh, but it's true. The schedule for them is very workable. They're at Clemson, but there's no Florida State. There's no Miami. There's a path there for NC State. Virginia Tech, it feels like we've been on Virginia Tech now really since those returning production rankings came out. They finished the year extremely hot, winning 5 of their last 7. They have the most returning production in all of college football. They have a freaking Clydesdale in Kyron Drones at quarterback. That dude can hurt you running the football, can hurt you downfield. Their schedule also very workable. They get Clemson in November in Blacksburg. Before that, though, they play Miami, and you're like, hey, got to go to Coral Gables, and I say to Coral Gables. You got to go play at Miami. Do you really like that? I like it a lot more than it's on a Friday night. So Virginia Tech could absolutely find a way to backdoor their way into this ACC conference title game. Syracuse, don't look now, man, but Syracuse, Fran Brown is cooking out there in upstate New York. You got Oronde Gadsden, who's one of the best tight ends, one of the best pass catchers in college football, period. We don't talk a lot about him nationally because he plays at Syracuse, but I think we're going to talk a lot about him this upcoming season. Kyle McCord, say what you want about what happened to him at Ohio State, man. All he did in Columbus was win football games as a starting quarterback. Now, he lost the one that was most important to the folks out there in Buckeye country, but it is what it is. He's going to be a guy for you. They have a top 10 portal class currently at Syracuse. All right, so just keep an eye on Syracuse, man. Their schedule also very, very workable. SMU, first year in the conference. They won the AAC last year. Do they win the ACC this year? I mean, Vegas would say probably not, but you look at what they have on this roster, man. They also hit the portal pretty hard. They took 20-plus transfers, and not just like transfers from the FCS level or other G5 schools. They took them from like high-profile schools, like big boy, blue-chip kind of recruiting operations. All right, you got Preston Stone playing quarterback for you yet again. Rhett Lashley is an offensive mastermind, averaged 37 points a game so far his 2 years at SMU. Do not be surprised if SMU makes some noise in this conference, all right? So I mentioned all those sneaky teams. I think when we talk about, the Virginia Techs of the world, the Syracuses of the world, making a run at the conference title, while the path is definitely there, to me, the ingredients for that to happen would require one of these big dogs, if not multiple of these big dogs, having a downward trend. And I think it's quite frankly the exact opposite for 2 of these 3 teams. Like Clemson, say what you want about Cade Klubnik, and I'm very much so in like need to see it to believe it mode for the good folks out there in Clemson, South Carolina. But at the exact same time, man, like their roster, they're going to be good enough to roll the ball out there and win most of their games just because they're Clemson and the way they've recruited and the way that they have continued to keep a steady influx of top talent on that roster. Like, I understand that Clemson hasn't been making the college football playoff every other year, but they're still going to be a force, and they're still going to be a tough out in this conference. Florida State, they actually have the best odds to win this conference, even though they are 83rd in returning production. There's a feeling out there in Tallahassee, man, they think they have the best roster they've ever had under Mike Norvell. And last year was great. You went undefeated in the regular season. You won the ACC. They think this roster is more talented than that roster. So again, that to me would make it a little bit difficult for a other team, the ones I just mentioned, the sneaky teams, to find a way to get into that conference title game over a Florida State. Now, Miami is fascinating because they have built to a year like this. Last year going 7-5, you're like, we sure they're a conference title contender? Yes, because the way the roster has trended, that's the first part of this. But also, you got Cam Ward playing quarterback for you, man. I cannot articulate adequately enough how excited they are about him and how much of a difference maker they believe he is. So you got the roster talent, and then also you got a year 3 culture. Like Mario Cristobal, since he's gotten to Coral Gables, has been working to get this team to take on his persona. Tough, gritty, physical, do the work, detail-oriented, all those things. They haven't seen that play out just yet, but if you're trusting the trend, I think Miami is barreling full speed towards being a Cristobal team in 2024. So who ends up making the conference title game for the ACC? Who ends up playing for an auto bid to the college football playoff? I love Clemson's defense. I think Barrett Carter might be one of the most underrated, and I say underrated in terms of he doesn't get talked about enough nationally. He's one of my favorite players defensively in college football. I'll leave it at that, the linebacker at Clemson. But again, offensively, I don't know if I can trust Cade Klubnik in this operation just yet. Not telling you I don't think Cade Klubnik is really freaking talented. Not telling you that it would wildly surprise me if they found a way to make the ACC title game. But from what we've seen from him so far, last year, 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Not all that is on Cade Klubnik. Some of that is also on the lack of explosivity they don't have in that wide receiver room. Probably have more of it this year. Is it enough to get over the hump? To me, I would have a difficult time predicting them to make the ACC title game because of what I haven't seen on offense just yet. They averaged 4.9 yards a play last year, good for 103rd in the country. I don't think that's enough to make the ACC title game if they don't kick it up in a big way this upcoming season. So I think you got Florida State and Miami in the ACC title game. Now, Florida State, again, the best odds to win the conference. Miami has the third best odds behind Clemson to win the conference. I think that Florida State feels like they got something to prove. I think they are very, very okay with everyone talking about what they lost and DJU maybe not being the guy based on his lack of success at Clemson and all that. Like, I think they're more than fine taking on like that underdog chip on the shoulder role. Promise you now, those folks in Tallahassee, the guys in that building, they remember vividly not making the college football playoff last year. Like that has stuck with them, okay? I think that motivates them. I think that benefits them to get to the ACC title game. I think they get to the conference title game with one loss, and that one loss coming against Miami. Now, Miami, I think, actually gets to the ACC title game going undefeated in conference play. So who ends up winning this game, man? It's very difficult to beat a team twice if you're Miami, but I think the versatility of this roster, what they have up front, what they have in that backfield with Damian Martinez from Oregon State, what they have on the perimeter now with Sam Brown, with Xavier Restrepo and JoJo Trader, like Jacoby George, they just have so many different ways they can beat you. I think that it could look different from game to game, from when they play in the regular season to when they meet up in the conference title game. But I think Miami finds a way to go 2-0 against Florida State and win the ACC. So what happens to Florida State? Do they make the college football playoff? I mean, stick around. But I think Miami is your ACC champ, and they lock themselves into a college football playoff spot and a bye in the 12-team playoff. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.